Kenya. This country in the east of Africa is charming with all of its diversity. The spectacular landscapes provide a home for various wildlife. Tradition and modernity meet each other here. Whether it's a vast desert lake or an endless savanna. From big animals to dozens of small ones. Kenya borders South Sudan and is located just beneath Ethiopia. Around Lake Turkana lies Lodwar, the El Molo settlement, and Mount Kulal. Lake Turkana, the largest inland body of water in Kenya. At a good 6,400 square kilometers, it is almost 12 times the size of Lake Constance. Lake Turkana's northernmost tip extends into Ethiopia. The salty water is rich in fish and algae. Many birds and Nile crocodiles populate the shore. Around the lake lies a desert of volcanic rock. One of Kenya's smallest ethnic groups lives on the southeastern shore of Lake Turkana, the El Molo. Today, the group has between 300 and 1,100 members, but it's impossible to estimate the precise number. For centuries, the El Molo have been making a living on Lake Turkana's shores. They make their living from fishing. They catch Nile perch, tilapia, and even catfish, which they take from Lake Turkana day by day. The fish are dried first before being sold. Raphael Lenapierre, the village elder, used to be a fisherman, but at 76 years old, he hasn't gone out on the lake for a long time. It's too exhausting for him. At peak times, the temperatures here can reach well above 40 degrees Celsius. The lake is the only source of water. Unfortunately, the water is too salty and isn't safe to drink, but it has unlimited supply.
We can never leave this lake, and no one should ever drive us away from here. We have almost no livestock, so we are dependent on the lake. We are reliant on water that the lake gives us. There isn't arable land to farm on either. All we have left is the fish.
Lake Turkana is unpredictable. Over many decades it has become smaller and saltier. In 2020, the water levels rose exponentially and destroyed the only freshwater pump station in the area.
Originally, all of this was dry land. Cars and motorcycles could drive back and forth. People could walk where they wanted because there was no water anywhere. When the water level suddenly rose, we didn't know why. We only saw that the water was getting closer and closer. It didn't stop. We thought it would go away again, but it stayed ever since. We've learned to live with it.
Now, all that can be seen between villages is water, which was until 2020 still dry land. The children could walk to school. Now many of them have to come to school by boat every day. Raphael doesn't live that far from the village school, and every morning he goes out to pray with the children in the classroom. The Catholic faith has been widespread in the village since colonial times. Rafael Lenapir is the village priest and will soon retire. It is still uncertain who will replace him. In addition to fish sales and occasional income from tourist groups, the El Molo are supported by food deliveries from the government or various aid organizations. The houses in the village are similar in style and construction to those of the Turkana and the Samburu, the two neighbouring ethnic groups. The El Molo have largely adopted their culture and language. No one has spoken the El Molo language for over 20 years. Even though the El Molo are not actually shepherds and have always been considered the people who eat fish, livestock farming now plays an increasingly important role due to the influence of the other groups.
We, the El Molo, have never had anything to do with livestock. We've always focused entirely on the lake.
Now, however, the circumstances are changing, and in other areas as well.
In the past, it was unusual for an El Molo to marry a member from the Turkana or the Samburu. But it's different now, and I learned from friends how to keep and take care of livestock. A friend would give you a goat, and then explain to you, now you have to do this, and you have to do that. 20 kilometers away from the lake, as the crow flies, you will find Mount Kulal. At almost 2,300 meters, the extinct volcano is the highest mountain near Lake Turkana. It is also the favorite place of mountain guide Shukri Lasapicho. I like this place. It's cool. The weather is good. Down by the lake it's very hot, but up here it's bearable. And you can grow corn or beans here. Down there you can't. You can even find fruits here, like oranges or lemons. That's why I prefer to be up here. The climate is great, and I still get to enjoy walking in nature. The view's fantastic, especially the majestic sunsets.
In the mountain village of Gatab, mountain guide Shukri Lasapicho and a group of colleagues are preparing for an inspection tour through the forest.
I have to go to the forest on the mountain many times a month, about 10 or 20 times. With or without tourists, I was born here. It's my job to look after this place so that it stays as it is.
Shukri belongs to the Community Forest Association, a local organisation that ensures the forest's preservation. For example, it is forbidden to let their animals graze on the mountain, and trees are not to be felled there without supervision. Today, the men want to stay overnight on the summit. They are all Samburu, traditionally a pastoral people. Goats are the livelihood of many people here. The group wants to end today with a ritual. For this, a goat has to go up the mountain with them. The Mount Kulal ecosystem produces moisture in the form of fog and rain, and is important for water circulation in northern Kenya. About 95 species of birds live in the mountain forest, one of which is particularly difficult to spot. A true master of camouflage. The Kulal white eye is named after the mountain and can only be found on Mount Kulal. Its characteristics are the white rings around its eyes, the green plumage, and the light chest. Shukri and his men want to ensure that the forest is preserved and remains a habitat for a long time to come.
The forest here is in good condition because it's protected by the village elders and by us, the Community Forest Association. No one's allowed to bring livestock into the forest to graze. This sometimes causes conflicts with the herders. But at the moment, everything is quiet. I didn't see any goats running around freely on the way here, and none of the trees have been cut down. That's good.
The plant diversity on Mount Kulal provides the perfect habitat for many chameleon species.
When I put the chameleon on my face, I want to show my people that this is a harmless animal. We share a habitat with them. It's a beautiful animal. They also eat flies, and it can change colors. But many people here believe that if a chameleon bites or licks them with its long tongue, they will die. But that's not true.
On Mount Kulal, you will find the subfamily of true chameleons. The tail is as long as their body. They mainly live in trees and bushes. Shukri is 40 years old and a father of 4 children. When he's not out with the forest patrol, he is usually guiding tourists or scientists to Mount Kulal. The mountain is a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve. The Community Forest Association is tasked with ensuring the sustainable management and conservation of the Mount Kulal forest. Shukri is a member of this group and is accompanied by friends from the village on his inspections. The environmentalists also practice their Samburu culture. Therefore, the goat is to be slaughtered on the summit. The preparations for this begin halfway up the mountain. The western side of Lake Turkana, which was called Lake Rudolph in colonial times, is internationally known as the cradle of humanity. The oldest human fossils in the world were found in this area of Kenya. This includes Homo rudolfensis, over 2 million years old, and, like the Neanderthals, extinct. The Turkana Basin Institute is located just a few kilometers away. The research facility was founded by the Leakeys, a British-Kenyan family of famous archaeologists and paleoanthropologists. In addition to the research into fossil fuels, the institute also works on projects related to agriculture and food supply. Christine Atabo will soon begin her master's studies and works at the Turkana Basin Institute as an assistant curator for fossils.
When I was in primary, I used to love science so much. My science subject was the best for me, and I used to participate, be part of the science clubs and everything. And for my community, what I saw within them, that they lack knowledge of science. What they understand is not what science gives. So I wanted to gain that knowledge to be able to impact to them how science is beneficial to their lives.
Christine's team is currently preparing the fossil of an elephant. The Institute's most significant findings are several million years old. In 2022, a Kenyan fossil hunter made a remarkable discovery, the Elizi skull. It is the skull of an infant that lived 13 million years ago and the best preserved skull of its kind. It provides an extraordinary insight into the early stages of primate evolution. But what human fossils reveal about the nature of humans fascinates Christine most of all.
This skull had an arrow stuck inside. This means that these people used some obsidian material to make their tools, and these same tools are the ones that were used for fighting. And this place is very special in the history of evolution because it reflects how nomadic people lived and the wrangles they had, the conflict they had between themselves.
Christine and her colleague John are cataloguing fossils that were found a few weeks ago. Every fossil, no matter how small, must be photographed, numbered, and then entered into the database. Over thousands of years, these bones have lost their water content and absorbed minerals instead, making them significantly heavier than bones from recent times.
The first day I came to TBI, a bone for me was like a stone, never knew anything. We used to show TBI as an institute that's collecting maybe important things like gold, like mercury, such kind of things. But when I came here, the mentality changed. I now learn these people are just doing science, they're doing research. They're trying to figure out what was in the past. They're trying to tell us what was there, so they can be able to tell the future.
For the people of Kenya, the research also offers an opportunity to discover their identity and learn about their history.
This research has actually put Kenya in a global map because so many finds that we get here go outside. So whatever picture they have outside about Kenya is that Kenya is a cradle of mankind, specifically Turkana. And the ongoing research and the research to come in future is really going to put Kenya further. Yeah.
It is now afternoon on Mount Kulal. Shukri Lasapicho and his men are looking for a place to spend the night that is sheltered from the wind. Temperatures can drop as low as 12 degrees at night.
The area where we are now is the highest point we can reach on Mount Kulal. We call this place Loguzugus, the summit of Mount Kulal. But the white people would say it's above sea level. You know, above sea level means that something is higher than the sea. This is the highest point at 2,285 meters.
Even though the walk up the mountain is routine, the men are happy that everyone arrived safely and that the forest is doing well. The goat slaughter is the crowning achievement of a successful day.
I still remember my circumcision ceremony very well. When I was circumcised, we went into the forest for 8 days. We slaughtered animals, ate meat, and drank a lot of blood. We sang songs while doing so. I will never forget that day, and always associate it with this forest.
The slaughter of animals and drinking their blood is one of many Samburu traditions. Some organs are eaten raw immediately after slaughter. The whole animal is used. Mountain guide Shukri will spend the night outside in his sleeping bag, warmed by the fire. He dreams of climbing Mount Kilimanjaro one day, and he's also thinking of climbing Mount Sinai. For the El Molo on Lake Turkana, every day begins at 6 a.m. sharp. As the village priest, Raphael always leads a church service in the morning. The faith of the El Molo today consists of Catholic elements and elements from their traditional religion. This combination allowed them to develop their own rituals.
Salam Maria, umejaa neema, Bwana yu nawe. Umebarikiwa kuliko wanawake wote, na Yesu mzao wa tumbo lako umebarikiwa.
In the past, they would travel to the opposite island to pray.
There were 4 shrines on the island, and each one of them had a different purpose. One of the shrines we would use to pray for rain. And another one people would pray to if they want to have children. And the other one was used to pray for protection from our enemies. And the last one we would pray to before we went hunting. It's a place for prayer that our ancestors visited. We continue to honor them in our own way.
there is another long-standing tradition which is deeply intertwined with the culture of the El Molo people, crocodile hunting.
You thread it here and then... Give me a stone, then you beat on the metal tip. You do this until it's sharp.
The right weapons are needed to hunt crocodiles. If the spear is not sharp enough, the crocodile will only be injured, not killed. And that would be very dangerous.
Can you see how I screwed it in? That way the tip won't fall off.
The spear consists of a metal tip, a stick made of acacia wood, and a rope made of palm.
When we spear the crocodile, the point gets stuck in the crocodile. The harpoon comes off the stick and you're left with just the rope in your hand. This is how we have hunted crocodiles since the beginning of time.
The Turkana Sea is not only home to reptiles, but also to flamingos, pelicans and hundreds of other bird species that feed on insect larvae, crustaceans and, of course, fish. During the day, the Nile crocodiles sunbathe, and at night they go into the water. Since the water levels of Lake Turkana rose exponentially a few years ago, the El Molo has had a problem.
Since the lake has expanded so much, as you can see from the trees there, the crocodiles have also come closer to us.
Because of the danger this brings, the three men have to patrol the shores. They patrol the shore to chase away the crocodiles. But for several years now, they have not been allowed to kill them due to wildlife protection reasons, no matter how close the predators get.
Before the government banned hunting, we always hunted crocodiles. This was the food that we and our children ate. We needed the meat. But since the law came into force, we're afraid. Our grandparents taught us how to hunt crocodiles. All of our ancestors hunted crocodiles. I still teach it to my child today. I also told him that we used to hunt hippos. There are no hippos anymore, but the crocodiles are still here. And they're very close to us. If we stop hunting the crocodiles, this tradition of ours will die out forever.
One of the most famous findings in the Turkana region is the skeleton of the so-called Turkana boy. It was discovered by a Kenyan paleoanthropologist in 1984. The Turkwell River flows right through this historic region. It is one of 3 rivers that flow into Lake Turkana. Dr. Dino Martins is an entomologist, evolutionary biologist, and, since 2022, the managing director of the Turkana Basin Institute. Born and raised in Western Kenya, he feels that he has a responsibility to conduct research in this region.
We as scientists are the guests of the Turkana people. And we must engage and relate and connect with the people who are around us in order to do good science. And actually, when we do that, the science is better. Many of the people who are involved in the science, whether it's finding the fossils, helping to prepare them, going to more remote sites, supporting all of the scientists, are from the community. And they are brilliant because they've grown up in this landscape. So you might see a tiny fragment of bone and most of us would not even recognize it. But because someone has grown up in this community, has spent their life in the field, they'll be able to spot something from a great distance and it'll turn out to be a really important discovery that changes the whole story of human history.
Curator Christina Tabo was born in Turkana. Her role models include female scientists from all over the world.
This field, for over the years, I think for what I've read most of the time, is male-dominated. And it really encourages me to see some few women who have achieved a lot through this field of science. So my motivation is, if those women who participated or who pursued the same field succeeded, so do I. I will also succeed in the same way.
The most important question we're asking right now for me is about the future. Kenya is a country with 50 million people. In northern Kenya, we have a lot of young people, and those people have dreams, they have aspirations, they want jobs, they want to earn a living, they want to support their families. That's a critical contribution that we can make as scientists, or through the resources we bring to the table as scientists, to allow people to become young explorers, to discover history, to learn from their culture, but also to learn science, to learn how to solve problems like food production. If we can give people information and also that they can become proud of this landscape. This is a landscape that might seem remote, it might seem poor, it might seem difficult, but actually it's the landscape where all humans come from. And so that should be something empowering.
Further south beats the heart of Kenya's fascinating wildlife. There are various nature reserves around the town of Archer's Post, including the Ruteti Elephant Sanctuary. The Samburu National Reserve is a 165 square kilometre nature reserve located in central Kenya. Orphaned elephants have found a home in the Ruteti Elephant Sanctuary, located in the middle of the Namunyak Nature Reserve, the only rescue centre in Africa that is run exclusively by the local community.
I was scared of elephants before I started working with them. I had never interacted with them before and couldn't read their behaviour. But here, I realised that elephants are social, modest and clever animals. If you show them affection, they will give it back.
The Ruteti Elephant Sanctuary is dedicated to the care and protection of many orphaned elephants. They are taken in because they are injured or have lost their mother. Naomi Leshongoro is 27 years old, Samburu, and one of the most experienced keepers in the rescue centre. The mother of two has gained another 2 children through her work at the sanctuary.
Iko kubono shukuna misi ya esna nyo woleng
Sometimes we find a baby grieving next to its dead mother, and the mother has been dead for 10 days, and the rest of the herd has already moved on. It's really sad. When the babies come here, they should forget the stress of losing their mother. So, I become a caregiver and their new mother.
It is not only the dedicated nurses who do valuable and loving work at the sanctuary, but the community as well. The whole community is involved in raising the elephants. The goat's milk that is pasteurized here come from families directly from the region. The community brings fresh goat's milk to the center every day. Every elephant calf gets their own individual mix of milk 4 times a day. It is specially prepared for them. This is a huge step forward because at the beginning the calves only got powdered milk, which they did not tolerate well. Now it is not just the elephants who benefit from the goat's milk.
600 women work for us and supply us with milk. Each has her own account and receives money transferred to her every month, like a salary.
Time for the 12 o'clock bottle. Around 40 elephants live in the Reteti sanctuary. For every calf, there are 3 caretakers. Some calves need special treatment because they came to the sanctuary heavily injured. In the past, injured elephants from the region were brought to Nairobi, 400 kilometers away, and raised there. Now, the Reteti team takes care of them on site. There are around 36,000 elephants in Kenya. This number was officially announced in 2021. The Reteti team want to help ensure that the number of elephants remains constant or even increases. For elephants, the trunk is their most important feature as it allows them to perform tasks, take care of themselves, and interact with other elephants. This makes the situation all the more difficult for elephants with disabilities.
This male calf is called Long Uro. He no longer has a proper trunk. He fell into a borehole when trying to get water. He kept his trunk above water and was then attacked by a hyena. When he came here, he was covered in blood. The wildlife authorities didn't think he would survive. They wanted us to kill him so that he wouldn't have to suffer. But we refused to do that. We wanted him to be able to look after himself again. He is now 2.5 years old and loves people. He also recognizes you. Unfortunately, we can't release him into the wild. He will probably have to stay here forever so that we can monitor him and continue to support him.
The Ewaso Nyiro River originates on the western side of Mount Kenya. It flows through the Samburu National Reserve before reaching Somalia. The name of the river means river with brown or muddy water. Nearby, Samburu women have come together to form a village community without any men to go about their daily lives. The daily walk to the river is one of their many routines. Direct access to water ensures life for women and their children.
When I was in grade 8, I got pregnant. And the time I got pregnant, my boyfriend said that the child is not belongs to him. So I just told the family that I got pregnant and the owner is saying that the child is not belongs to him. So I don't have to go to that family, I just have to stay in our family. When I was inside the house with the child, I didn't have anything to eat. And I have a small kid. So I said, what can I do?
Lucy Naipashu moved into an existing women's village and left it shortly afterwards to establish her own community. The fact that she started school as a girl and was able to learn English is not the norm in a traditional Samburu household. Lucy is the head of the village community. She is supported by a secretary and a treasurer. The women meet every day at lunchtime to discuss questions and problems. They all became mothers at a very young age, and many experienced violence in their marriage. Even though many things are better now, everyday life is still exhausting. Without men in the community, the women have twice as many tasks.
In other areas, it's the men who go and look for the food and bring it to the women. So for us, because we doesn't have men, we just depend on our hands. We make the jewelry and we wait for the people who are coming to support.
The biggest source of income is the market that the women set up every day. Here, they sell homemade jewelry and decorations made of pearls and leather. And their clients are mostly tourists. They have to wait and don't always know in advance whether a tour group is coming by. They have to budget to make up for their irregular income, yet women still enjoy living here. For the 26-year-old Napiloi Lengila, the move to the village was a turning point in her life.
Back home, I was married to a man I didn't like because he was so old. I married him because my family needed cows. I couldn't imagine spending my life with him, so I decided to leave. Out here, I'm free. Nobody can mistreat or hurt me. My husband used to beat me every night. We always argued. So I'm glad that I'm here with the other women.
With the money from the jewelry sales, Napiloi can send her 3 children to school. In the land of the Samburu, where the nomads graze their cattle, you can, with a little luck, see the rare Gravy's zebras. There are said to be only 3,000 left in Kenya and Ethiopia. They are characterized by their large ears and fine stripes. Wild animals play an important role in the culture of Samburu people like Naomi. But that doesn't mean that the animals have to be killed for this.
Animals can be used for celebrations. For example, at a wedding, we need a baby elephant's dung to light the first fire in the couple's new house. If you don't have the dung, there won't be a wedding. So you better make sure you find some before the wedding. We Samburu do not protect these wild animals to make money from them. We protect them to preserve our culture. Without wild animals, our traditions will die.
In the afternoon, it is time for the next bottle. The Reteti team is well prepared. The tasks are distributed evenly, and the rescue centre has a positive reputation. A few years ago, things were different. The local population was afraid that the construction of the retreat would take away the land on which they could otherwise have lived.
A problem here has always been the widespread human-wildlife conflicts, because the humans have to live amongst the animals. For example, men and women need water, and so do the animals. This has led to humans killing elephants, or vice versa. But that has stopped, because people now know so much more about these animals.
The highlight of the day, a bath in the mud. The mud not only protects the elephants from the sun, but also serves as an insect repellent and ointment for small injuries. And if their health allows it, the elephants will be released back into the wild after 7 years. When the children are at school, the women from Lucy's village meet for tea. They all live in traditional Samburu houses, similar in construction to those of the El Molo on Lake Turkana. The building of the houses is traditionally a woman's job.
There is 2 types of materials, 3 types. There is the upper one, and the ones that you use to tie it, and the other one that you will put around the house. So there are 3 types of materials that we always use in the house, and we just go to cut them at the back.
Every woman in the village has her own house. The basic framework for the houses is built from the thorny acacia trees in the area. They are easily found right outside the village. Out here, the women often meet men, such as shepherds who are out with their cattle. Not all of them are amicable towards them.
People feel very angry with us because they can see that we are in a good place. Like last year, I was having a business for the goats. When I was in the park, some men came. I was grazing them at the park. So the time I was grazing them, I saw the men coming. So I was just looking at them. Where are they going? They have the guns. So they came. They asked me, where are you from? I told them I'm from Samburu. And what are you doing here? I told them I'm grazing my goats. So they told me that we will go with these goats. What will you do to us?
Despite such setbacks, the village continues to grow. However, the village community does not want to buy any more goats. At around €60 per animal, the investment is too high, as the animals could be stolen from the women at any time. But they have other plans for the future of their village community.
My vision in the village was to start a campsite so that the women can also benefit through the campsite that I will build. We cannot go and mix with the other villages. We just have to stay the way we are, because we are strong women and we can do everything.
The young Samburu women are persistently and confidently fighting their way out of the old structures, while still conducting themselves with a mixture of tradition and feminism, and above all with a lot of courage.